This is Mike Wallace with another television portrait in our gallery of colorful people. Right now, we go after the story of an estrangement. Not the usual estrangement of a man and a woman, but of a mother and a daughter. Our guest is Christina Crawford, the adopted daughter of Joan Crawford. Christina is a struggling young actress who has publicly criticized her mother in a forthright and revealing article in the current Red Book magazine. We'll find out why in just a minute. Now to our story with young Christina Crawford. Christina, the article is entitled "The Revolt of Joan Crawford's Daughter," and in it you reveal some fairly intimate facts about your relationship with your mother. Facts about which very few people are aware, and yet you choose to make them public. Why? Why do you want to make them public now?
Well, Mike, for a few reasons. I didn't mean it as a criticism of my mother. I had no intention of criticizing what she had done or what she will do or what happened at home. I felt, as many people did, that the story of an adopted child in a home like this would be interesting to other people. And I also wanted to, for my own sake, make a few things clear that had not been clear before, that I was a young woman on her own, trying to make a way in a profession for herself.
Fair enough.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
Let's start at the beginning. It would seem perhaps odd that a very busy and very successful movie star, single, and with a reputation for perhaps a short temper, it may seem odd that she would want to adopt a daughter. And of this, your mother said it was perfectly natural for a single woman to love children and to want to have one of her own. Why do you think that she adopted you?
Well, I think why she told me she adopted me, and what I have come to believe as being quite true, was that she honestly did want children. She had never, I don't believe, had an opportunity to be a child herself. She'd had to work very early, and I think that she wanted to impart some of her newfound success and happiness to children. I think that she always said that she wanted 8, and I think she honestly did.
She wound up with 4.
She wound up with 4, yes, all right. She only got half of her wish.
You had a Hollywood childhood, and
Yes.
I put the Hollywood in quotes, complete with governesses and boarding schools and long separations. Do you believe that your mother's career interfered with, prevented a better relationship?
Between us, you mean? Yes. I think that probably it did, because since I had been very young, of course, Mother had had to work very hard, and we didn't see her that often. We saw her Sundays and in the evening when she'd come home, as any other working mother, would, tired and filled with the events of her personal day, which had nothing to do with us. And then very young I went to boarding school, and I don't think that from the time that I was, say, 9, 10, 11, 12, from that point on we didn't really get to know each other in the everyday little things that come with living with another person.
How old were you when you were adopted?
Oh, just a few months. I have no recollection of anything else, if that's what you
So
mean.
the first 9 years or so, 9 or
Yes.
10 years, were fairly normal.
Normal in the Hollywood context, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if that's normal at all.
When did the conflicts between you and your mother become fairly serious? About the time that you went to boarding school?
Well, I think that was one of the reasons for my going to boarding school, and that she had to travel a great deal and just couldn't be home,
What would, at the age of 10 or 11, what would you get into hassles about?
Naughtiness, just everyday naughtiness. But
Well, that happens in any family.
right, but not every family is under the strain and public pressure that our home was under.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
And surveillance, I should say.
Well, you went to public school originally.
Yes.
And
yes.
then she decided, Joan Crawford decided to send you to the Chadwick School, a
That's
private
right.
school.
Yes.
Why?
First of all, because I suppose it was a very good school,
Yes.
which it is. And secondly, because we would have more attention than we would at home, really, from educators and people who were supposed to know about children, problem children, if you want to call them that. And that's why we were sent.
Is it a school, or was it a school for problem children?
No, it is not. I mean, in that it isn't certainly a reformatory in any way, but I mean, it dealt with, and most of the students were, children of Hollywood people who were in the same position that we were.
You loved the Chadwick School.
I loved it, yes.
Why? Why? What was there about that school?
Well, I suppose because there was a kind of discipline which everybody got. You know, everybody got the same kind of discipline. I liked the Chadwicks. I liked the children there. I felt at home, which I hadn't in public school because, as I say, I was with people.
You said it was my first taste of a normal family life, which sounds rather strange that a boarding school would give you that first taste.
Yes, but when I was in the 9th grade, we moved into the private home of the people that ran the school.
And so Mr. and Mrs. Commander Chadwick and his wife really became almost a kind of substitute mother and father
That's
for
right,
you.
yes.
Now, eventually, your mother insisted that you leave the Chadwick School. And this is the one point that seems to be at issue between you and your mother in the story. She suggests that you were really expelled from the school, and you say no.
Yes, I most definitely do say no. And all the written records that can testify have no record of my ever being expelled from anywhere.
Well, why do you think your mother would suggest that you were expelled from the school?
I don't know. Perhaps it was just a matter of two people remembering things very difficultly. You know, there were problems, certainly. There were difficulties at the time, but it was not the school's command that I leave.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
You were just 14 or 15 at the time.
I was 15, yes.
And then what happened? You thought that you were going home, and what happened instead?
Well, I felt like I was sort of on a cops and robbers chase because I knew immediately, of course, knowing California, I was born and brought up there, that within 5 minutes outside of the school, I wasn't going in the direction of my home, but I didn't know exactly where I was going. And it ended up at a parochial school outside of Pasadena.
A boarding school, a kind of
Yes.
a convent.
Yes, yes.
What was this convent? Now, here, you were 14, 15?
15, yes.
What was it like living in a convent for a 15-year-old who had been used to a totally different kind of life?
It was different, I'll tell you that much. It was frightening at first. It was very quiet. I don't think I'd ever even spoken to a sister before, myself. I'd seen them on the streets. Everything was terribly strange and terribly lonely because everything that I'd been familiar with was gone, you know.
Why do you think your mother did that to you? Why did she send you there?
I suppose for disciplinary reasons. And she wanted to be sure that, well, I'd just be safe.
Did you see a good deal of your mother during these years, the last years at Chadwick and your years in the convent?
No, I only saw her once.
For how long?
Well, it was when we went on a trip to Europe, the whole family, for 3 months, from Thanksgiving until about the 1st of January, I believe. And that's the only time I saw her.
Vacations?
No, I stayed in school.
Well, what about your brother, and then there were two other
Sisters.
youngsters, two other sisters?
Well, they were in different schools, in California, but in different schools.
And did they see your mother? Or were they
Yes,
equally
they
cut
did.
off?
No,
then
they did.
there was evidently something special about Christina.
Well, I guess, Mike, the thing is that since a very early age, I had kind of a will of my own, I suppose, and I just started exercising it too early, you know.
And your mother has a will.
Very strong one, yes.
One thing, though, that you seem to agree about was your decision to become an actress. Your mother often said, if you decide to make this life, that of an actress, yours, you become an actress, that is your choice, and I am for it.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
And so, with your mother's approval, you went to Carnegie Tech.
Yes, for my first year in college.
Now, what was that like?
That was marvelous, absolutely marvelous. I suddenly felt as though I were free. I suddenly felt as though this is what I had waited for. This was what had held me through all the very, very long days and a couple of very long years. And here I was among my own kind, doing exactly what I had wanted to. It was a wonderful year.
And yet you quit Carnegie Tech in spite of the fact that it was this paradise, because why? Why didn't you keep going back and get your degree?
Well, because I got very impatient, which is, I suppose, the malady of the young, and I wanted to come to New York, because I understood that New York was the center of theater in this country, and that's where I wanted to be.
What was your mother's decision when you decided to leave college and come to New York?
Well, she wasn't very happy about it, because she did want me to finish college, as I suppose all parents do. But she said, well, if that's what you want to do, and if this is what you have your heart set on, then please go ahead.
And didn't she get you a job here in New York?
Later, after I'd been here about a year, she did at MCA.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
I left that too. But
you left MCA?
Yes, I did, because I didn't want to be behind a desk. I wanted to be up on the stage, and the two just didn't seem to go together in my mind.
And how has your career progressed? When did you first, how many years ago did you come to New York?
I came to New York, I think 2.5 years ago, maybe 3. I was studying for the first 2, and I've been working the last one.
I see. And your relationship with your mother since you have been here in New York, what has that been?
Up and down, as I suppose all parents and children's are, but,
she cut you off. She told you she would give you no more money.
You're right, she did.
Why?
Because I wasn't going about things the way that she felt was best for me.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
You know, she'd gotten me the job at MCA, and I'd quit, just as I'd quit college, and I'd quit the professional school, neighborhood playhouse. And she thought, well, you know, all right, if you're so bound and determined to do things your own way, let's just see how well you do them your own way. I must admit I didn't do very well at first.
Well,
Not
now,
at all.
how did you support yourself?
I worked at night as a cashier in a restaurant here in New York that a friend of mine owned. And I went to classes during the daytime, and I looked for work. Did a couple commercials and things like that. And
no money at all was forthcoming
no, none.
from your mother?
No, I just turned 19 at that time. So it was a little bit rough.
Mm-hmm. And now, what is your relationship with your mother?
Well, now I see her when we're both in town, you know, but that doesn't happen very often either, because she's traveling and I'm traveling a great deal of the time. But when she's in town, I see her.
Is this whole story, Christina, just the ordinary clash of two very strong-willed persons? Is it nothing more than that?
I think that's basically what it is, Mike, but added to that, of course, there's the thing about we're both actresses, you know.
Do you think there's any jealousy in your mother about you?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's jealousy or concern or a natural feeling of competition that two women feel when they're competing on almost every other level, even if they're not actually in competition.
Do you feel that you're in competition with your mother, Christina?
Sometimes I have, yes, because I want very much the same kind of things professionally that she has attained. As far as the way of life is concerned, I think that my ideas are different, but approaching the same goal: to be successful, to be appreciated by your own kind in the business, and to have the things that being successful can bring to you, you know.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
Is it at all possible that in this article in the current Red Book magazine you are trying to strike back at your mother for any reason?
No,
There's no malice in the article at all, Christina?
No, it's funny, Mike. The thing is that from the title, that's what you'd think, you know, I'm sure.
The revolt
Yes.
of Joan Crawford's daughter.
It wasn't so much a revolt against someone as against being confined, you know. I think everybody wants to feel that they are a person in their own right. And I think that for people who have very famous parents and are going into the same profession, this becomes even more strong, you know, more emphasized more fully by the public, by the press, by friends, by the relationship between the two people.
When did you last talk to your mother?
before she left for the coast,
Which was how long ago?
which was a couple weeks ago. She's out in
You talk
California
every
now.
couple of weeks then, or is
If I'm in the same general vicinity, yes. Yes.
it a friendly relationship and a good, sensible adult relationship, or do you still...
I think it's approaching that. I hope so.
Well, I surely thank you for coming and telling us a little bit about yourself, and I must say that it's a very revealing piece in Red Book, and well worth many mothers and daughters reading, I do believe.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I'll be back in a moment with the footnotes of this interview with Christina Crawford.
This upload is made by the concluding chapter of Crawford.
Christina Crawford apparently grew up alone and fairly unhappy. Today she is still alone, but by choice. And whatever unhappiness or happiness meets her in future, it will have to come to her not as the adopted daughter of a famous actress, but on her own terms. We thank Christina Crawford for adding her portrait to our gallery, one of the people other people are interested in. Mike Wallace, that's it for now.